Hello and welcome, SmartSuite-Library New User Training. That's what we're going to be covering today. My name is Quentin and I'm going to be hosting you in today's session. What are we going to be covering in the new user training session today? We're going to be going through a couple of things that you need to do in order to set up your system if this is the first time that you're using SmartSuite-Library. The basics of getting started with SmartSuite, so your cataloging and your circulating to get your library operational. And then how do I communicate with the customer service team? So I've got some queries, I've got some issues. We've just had a data conversion and some of the data doesn't look right. How do I reach out to the customer service team at FSI and get those data conversion problems resolved? So today's session is live. I'm coming to you from our Brisbane office today. If you do want to communicate with me, on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat console. So if you have any questions or you'd like me to go into a bit more detail on anything, I'm monitoring the chat down here. So go ahead, chuck your questions in there, and we'll try and get through them as best we can. Now, if you do get disrupted today with students, YouTube has a great facility where you do have the ability to pause the live session and it will continue recording it so that you can go back and then catch up to the live session as well. Okay, so take advantage of that. If there's something that maybe you've missed, I've gone through it too quickly, you do have the ability to go back and hear what I've just said and then catch up to the rest of the group or chuck it into that chat console and I'll be able to respond. All right, so let's jump into it. As I said, my name is Quentin, so if you've got any questions, yell out. But the first thing we're going to talk about is a couple of things that we need to get set up before we jump in and start playing around with SmartSuite-Library. So I'm just going to quickly jump over to my screen here. Okay, now before we get into all the cataloging and circulating with SmartSuite-Library, we do need to make sure that our SCIS account has been set up appropriately. So for all of our users who don't use SCIS already, may I suggest that you reach out to them and have a chat to them about the service that they can offer. If you are subscribing to SCIS, we do need to activate the Z3950 feature on your SCIS account. So this is not through SmartSuite-Library, it's through your SCIS platform. Okay, so how do we do that? The easiest way is to open up a browser. Okay, jump over to our good old friend Google and type into the engine SCIS Z3950. Okay, the top article there, how do I set up Z3950 in the school's cataloging information system? Okay, so we'll go and have a look at that article. That article there is from the SCIS website. It'll walk you through what it is and all the information that needs to happen. It says here that if you do not see the Z3950 information heading when you log into the SCIS portal, you need to contact them to have that enabled. So the first thing that you need to do before we kick off with anything to do with SmartSuite is to jump onto the website here and request that that feature is enabled. Now what will happen is they'll send you an email back once it's been set up, once it's confirmed that it's all ready to go. It'll have this information here. Okay, and you'll need to plug some of that information into SmartSuite. Okay, so once you've got that email, we'll then go back to SmartSuite and we'll plug that information in. Okay, now when you come to SmartSuite, everyone should know what your URL is. There should be a welcome letter that has been sent out to you, which will contain the URL of your site, which will be something like your school abbreviation .functionalsolutions.com.au. So it might be stmaryps.functionalsolutions.com.au. Okay, it'll have your username and it will have a link to either get your password or set up your password. Okay, once you know what your URL is for your site. It should load up a page that looks very similar to this. Top right hand side, there is a sign in button. Go ahead and click on that. It'll then ask you for your username. Most commonly, this will be your school email address. Okay, in my case, it's nice and simple just because we like to get through the demos real quick. And then your password. Okay, now if you don't know what your password is, go ahead and click Forgot My Password and follow the prompts. The system will reset that for you. Okay, once you're successfully logged into the system, we've got our SCIS email that's confirmed that we're ready to go. Here's the information you need to plug in. Okay, so we're going to go and do that right now. So the first thing you need to do, this little button in the top left-hand corner is your system menu. So if you see any of our instructions referring to the system menu, it's that little hamburger in the top left-hand corner. Click on system menu, click on catalog, and go to the global cataloging system. Once you're in the global cataloging screen, the toolbar at the bottom of the screen will have the configuration button. And we want to click the up arrow on the configuration button. Top option in this menu is Z3950 database. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to plug the username and the password information into the username and password field for that SCIS database. Okay, now we have gone through and added all the other information in, the server, the database, the port numbers. Okay, all you need to do is just plug in your username and password. Once you've done that, click update and you're ready to go. Okay, it's really that easy. Okay, so now that we've done the things that we need to do to get started, let's jump into a little bit of how do I navigate around the system. Okay, so when we're looking at SmartSuite and we're navigating through all the various pages, as I've mentioned, system menu is going to give us the ability to navigate to the various modules within the system. Now, all these modules have something that is the same on every page, and that is the toolbar. The toolbar is always located at the bottom of the screen, and it will control what you can do on that screen. So in the case of my cataloging screen, I have the ability to navigate forwards and backwards through the collection. I've got the ability to find resources. If I make any changes, I have a save button. If I jump across to my patrons, this is where I manage all my users. I have the same toolbar that's located at the bottom of the screen, but there's a number of other features that I can do on this screen. So I've also got the ability to change password for users and to email login information to specific users. So that toolbar is going to be really important for you to remember because it does control what you can do on each of those screens, including things like circulation and reporting. Okay, so remember the toolbar. If we mention anything in our instructions about the toolbar, make sure that you look at the bottom of the screen and find out what functions you have available in that toolbar. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about in the training today is managing your users. Now, we're going to be talking about managing your users from the point of view of one user at a time. So we're not going to be talking about bulk importing. That is going to be a training session that we're going to hold at another stage, or you can jump over to our YouTube channel and have a look at the start of your procedures where we go into more detail on bulk importing. The scenario that we've got is that we've got a user that's come up to a circulation desk. They're new to the school within the last 24, 48 hours, and we just need to quickly add them to the system. The way that we do that is we head over to our system menu. We go down to the Patron section, and then we select Patron Management. And Patron Management is where we do all of the adding, deleting, and editing of users that are in our system. So the home screen or the log-on screen for each user is going to give us that basic information, what year level they're in, if they've got any security levels that have been applied to them. If we go over to basic, okay, there's a little bit more information about their date of birth, middle names, genders, and we can scroll across to all the different tabs, okay? So the first thing is the user that's listed at the top here is the user that we're currently looking at. Okay, so we've done that specifically so that if you're over on the loan limit tab and you're looking at how many books this person can borrow, you get distracted and you come back to the screen, you know exactly that you're dealing with LibLib. Okay, if I navigate to another user quickly by using those toggles down the bottom, okay, again, we've got a little bit distracted, come back, I can see that I'm now looking at Rob Van Dyken's profile. So I don't need to keep going back to that login screen. Okay, now let's come back to our scenario. We've got a user that is new to the school, have come to the circulation desk, and we need to add them to the system. Okay, that is a function on this page. So we go down to the toolbar at the bottom of the screen, and we find the function that we want to use, which is obviously the new button. When we click new, system blanks out all of that information, and we just start scanning and typing the relevant information into the appropriate fields. For the barcode, if you don't know their student enrollment number, punch in a dummy barcode, okay, and move on with the other fields. Make sure though that you do make a note, you find out that unique ID for the user, you come back to the profile and you update it once they have left the circulation desk and you have a little bit more time. Okay, if you don't, you risk having duplicate profiles for that user because we'll do a bulk import at some stage where the user with the correct enrollment number will come into the system. It won't be able to match it with a user that has the dummy barcode and you'll have two profiles. Okay, so make sure that you do override that dummy barcode with the correct ID later on. If you know the correct ID, type that in straight away. Username field, that is commonly used to enter the user's network username. So at your school, if your name is Quentin Fernandez, your username to log into your email into the network and your printer services is QFER31. Chuck in QFER31. User's first name, their surname, their email address, okay. Don't worry about security because security will be built off the year level profiles that have been set up. Move down to the class grade, select which year this user is from. Okay, if they're a staff member, go ahead and select your staff or your teacher profile. Select the homeroom, okay, and then verify this field called role. Now, by default, whenever we're setting up a new user, the system will always give them the lowest user role possible, which is a student. So they can log into the system, they can search for books, they can search for digital content, they can reserve items, they can check their own overdues and loans when they log into their profile, but that's as much as they can do. Okay, if they are a teacher and you're subscribing to TV for Education or you want your teachers to have the ability to create lessons within the library system, make sure that you remove the student profile and you replace it with teacher. Okay, if they're a new librarian and you're adding them to the system so they can circulate and catalog, there are some other roles for that as well. Okay, so just make sure that the user role is completed with the correct information. Okay, now before we go ahead and click save in the toolbar, you'll notice over on the right hand side here that we have email login ticked by default. Now what's going to happen is if I do hit save, the system is going to automatically generate a password for this user, and it's then going to send that user a welcome email and say, welcome to the library, here is the URL for the system, here is your username to log in, and here is the password. Okay, so if I go and hit save, all of those prompts are going to come up. Password isn't set, system is going to generate a random one for us. We're happy with that. It's going to create that user, and then it's going to flick that email off to them. Now, okay, now if you didn't want that to happen, make sure you untick it before you hit save. Okay, and we've gone ahead and we've created our brand new user. So we can now jump back over to circulation and start circulating books to them. There's nothing else that we need to do. Okay, if we are dealing with that patron, we've given them a dummy barcode and we need to change that later on. Okay, so we've gone over to our circulation screen. We've done what we need to do. The library is now quiet. I've gone into my school administration system, found the enrollment ID of the user, and I now want to update their profile. Okay, we do that by going back to patron management. So system menu, patron, and patron management. Okay, I need to perform an action on the screen, which is to find our good old John. So I'm going to look down into the toolbar and go find. Okay, now I can type in first name, surname, whatever I need to. Okay, there's my Takamoto. Click on his name. That's going to load the profile for us. Put my cursor in the barcode field. Scan in my new patron barcode or type in the new patron barcode and hit save down the bottom. Okay, so modifying information on the screen is really, really easy as well. If I'm wanting to delete a user, same process. We go into a patron management, we click find, and we bring the profile up on the screen. Back in the toolbar, we've got a delete option. Okay, the system's going to prompt us, are you sure? Yes, we are, and it's going to get rid of that user for us. Now, if there are loans against that user that are currently active, so they have books at home that they need to bring back to the library, the system will not allow you to delete that user. And it's going to come up with an error and tell you that. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to chase that user to get the books back, or you need to mark those items as lost, and the system will return them so that you can then delete the user. Okay. So managing users is fairly simple, and as I said earlier, it's all done via the patron management screen. The next thing we're going to have a look at is cataloging resources. Now, before I jump into cataloging resources, I want to pause quickly and just make sure that no one has any questions for anything that we've covered so far. So if you do have any questions, please chuck them over in the chat panel on the YouTube screen. I'm watching that screen right now, and I'll give everyone a couple of moments to just chuck those questions in. Okay, no questions, so we'll keep jumping on with the remainder of the training session. So we're going to have a look at now at how do we manage our physical resource collection. So how do we add, edit, and delete resources within the SmartSuite library? We do that by clicking on System menu and going to Catalog. From the submenu, we select Catalog again. The cataloging screen is where we do all of our adding, editing, and deleting of those resources. Later on, when we get into the advanced functions of the system, this is also where we manage our kits, so creating kits. It's also where we do all of our asset register processes, so creating new records for assets, managing depreciation and maintenance, logging the serial numbers. We do all of that through the cataloging screen. Okay, in today's session, we're going to keep it nice and simple and just deal with your book records. Just wait for the system to catch up with us this morning or this afternoon. Okay, let me try that again. So to get to our catalog, catalog, and catalog again. All right. Now this is our cataloging screen. So it looks very similar to our Patron management, and we've done that purposefully to help you with your change management between the different screens. Okay, so we've got the toolbar down the bottom. That's going to have all the functions for this screen, and we've got all the tabs with all the various pieces of information for the active title. Okay, so we're currently looking at a record called Computer Challenger Laptop. If I go to Next Record, okay, I'm currently on the Subject tab, but I'm now looking at the Super Notebook. Okay, so all of those same processes and workflows have been carried across the various screens to help you navigate the system as easily as possible. Okay, if we're wanting to see information on different books, okay, bring them up by clicking Find down the bottom, searching for a title, author, publisher, searching some of the information that's in the notes. Once the record comes up, click on it, and it's going to load that into the system for us. Okay, we want to see what subjects Maze Runner has. Click on Subjects. If we want to go to the series, click on Series. Okay, exactly the same as it was in Patron Management. If we're wanting to create a brand new title, and we're not wanting to import it from SKIS, we're wanting to do an original catalog record for it, we do that by going down to our toolbar, clicking the up arrow next to New, and we've got a few different options. So the option that we're going to choose is we want to add a new title. Okay, now we're choosing new title because what we're going to catalog in a moment is not a second or a third copy of a title that's already in the library. It's a brand new record. Brand new title that we're going to put on the shelf, or it may be a physical resource like a puzzle or a TV that we're going to catalog into the system. We don't have any trace of it in the system already. So when we go new title, makes everything blank so we can start typing information in. Okay, put our cursor in the title field and start typing the name of the record. Okay, so we chucked our title in there. It might be the name of the book. If you're doing a physical resource, it might be 3D Puzzle Kit. Okay, so the title is just what is seen by the global clientele at your school or your university that you want your clientele to be able to see. Next field down is the ISBN. So if your resource has an ISBN, scan it in there. Okay, this little icon on the right hand side, this will try and get all the information for your resource by using the ISBN. So when we click it, it's going to go out to the internet and it's going to try and find the details for that ISBN using the SKIS database that we set up earlier. Okay, if it can't find the ISBN, it's going to give you that message that no results were found. Okay, in that case, go through and start typing all of your information into the relevant fields. Okay. The only fields that are mandatory on this screen is the title and the media type. All the other fields can be left blank if you want. Okay, from here we can jump over to the subject tab and we can start adding some subjects into the system. So what we do, put our cursor in that field and it says what subject are you trying to add. So as I start typing, the system is going to give me a list of authority file subjects that are already in my database. I can select from that list. Okay, and I can also add my own. So if I go fiction, okay, it's now given me that this subject, fiction, fantasy, comedy, doesn't exist. Okay, there's no option to select it from the drop down. So all I need to do is click on that plus symbol. It's going to bring up a pop-up and say, are you sure you want to add this to your database? Now be very careful here, because what you see in that little pop-up box is how it's going to be saved in the database. So if you haven't checked your punctuation, your capitalization, and your spelling, it is going to save it as is. So make sure that all of that is correct. If you are confident with it, click OK. That adds it to the database and it links it to this record for you. That's the same for every single authority file that's on this page, including your media type. So if you wanted to add a brand new media type, you can do that through the cataloging screen. Once you've moved through all the information, click on Save down in the toolbar, and it creates that record for you. Okay, now that we've created the title, we now want to tell the system what copy information is going to be saved against this title. So we've got a title called Harry Potter and the Chamber of Lollies, and we might have two copies of it, sorry. And we want to save the barcode and where it's going to be located in our library. So we go over to the copy tab, and we can see that we've got this light blue color with a plus symbol next to it. Whenever you see that light blue with the plus symbol in the cataloging screen, it's telling you that you can type information for a new copy into that row. All right, so all I need to do, put my cursor in the barcode and scan my barcode. The copy number is automatically generated by the system for me. If I go to my copy status, I can tell the system whether it's available or on order. I can place it into a location and a sublocation. Okay, if you're new to SmartSuite-Library or any of our FSI products, my recommendation is to think about these two fields from the point of view of the location is the physical building within your library or in your school, sorry. So it'll be the resource center, or it will be A block or D block or administration building, and the sublocation is the area within that physical building. So resource center fiction or resource center teacher reference. Okay, if you've got another way that you want to handle it, that's totally fine as well. We do have some users that come across from other systems that don't have that multi-layered or tiered location system, and that does cause some questions for them. So that is my recommendation if you are one of those users. Moving ahead to our different fields here, we've got loan type. So how long do we want it to be able to be borrowed for? Renew type. Okay, and that's it. Okay, but we might want to add the cost of the book, the replacement cost. We want to add some notes against it. So if we want to access those fields as well, click on the plus symbol on the left-hand side, and it will expand that copy for you. Then we've got that extra information where we can start jumping in and adding the cost and the replacement cost. Once we've added all that information to our copy, down the bottom we hit save, and it chucks it into the system. Okay, that line is no longer that light blue, so we know that this is an active copy against this title. Okay, now to add a second copy, because we said that we had two copies of it, we do have the ability to start typing the second copy's information into that blue field. But what we also can do is for the copy that's already saved, click on the little drop down arrow to the left of it. This will display all that information that we saw for that copy that we expanded previously, but it also has a couple of extra functions that we can apply to copy number one. one of which is duplicate. So if majority of the information for copy number 1 is correct for copy number 2, we duplicate it, and it says, okay, I've copied all the information. Here's the dummy barcode. So all we need to do is just scan the new barcode for copy number 2. It's already generated the copy number, added all the other information for us. We go ahead and hit save. And we now have 2 copies in the system. Okay, so very, very easy to navigate around the cataloging screen. Very similar to Patron management. Toolbar down the bottom, that's where you find all your functions. Okay, now deleting information from the catalog, whether it's the title or the entire or the copies. Down the bottom in the toolbar, we have a button called delete title, and we've been very purposeful with not just calling it delete, but delete title. And the reason behind that is if we go ahead and click delete title, we are going to remove the title and all the copies that we have saved against the title. Be very careful. We have had people accidentally delete 150, 180 textbook hire resources at once by using this function when they were just trying to delete one copy that got damaged. Okay, so because delete title is a very detrimental function, we do have a couple of checks and balances in place. Number one, the button itself has delete title. Okay, specifically mentioning title so that we don't get it confused with deleting a copy. The next thing is, when it comes up with this message, we can't go ahead and just click confirm. What we need to do is actually type the word yes and then click confirm. Once we type the word yes and then click confirm, it's going to remove all the copies and the title from our system. If we're only wanting to delete one copy of a book, what we need to do is we need to navigate to that title. So we've got Harry Potter and the Chamber of Lollies on the screen. We go to copy, and we have a look at copy number 1, 2, whichever copy is the damaged one or the one that's really old and we just want to get rid of it. Okay, so let's say that it's copy number 2. We expand copy number 2, and then we find the delete button that's within that row. Click delete. It's going to confirm, are you sure that you want to delete this barcode? Verify the barcode on the book, and then click OK. That's going to remove just that one for you. Okay, now if you do make mistakes and you do delete 150 to 180 copies, contact the customer service team ASAP. We can work magic and we can bring those resources back for you. Okay, but it's obviously going to be easier and quicker for you not to delete it in the first place. Okay, so we've gone through adding, editing, and deleting books. One thing I want to point out quickly with our cataloging screen is some of the extra information that you can get from the copy section. So I'm just going to go and try and find a copy that's going to give us this information quickly. Okay, so this is another resource called Projects and Designs in Metalwork. Okay, in our copy status, we can see that copy number 8 is currently on loan. But we want to find out who is this on loan to. So if I go over to the left of copy number 8 and I expand it, we can see at the bottom where, with all of our other buttons there, that it is currently on loan to lib. Now this is first name, surname. So it would traditionally say something like Quentin Fernandez. It will then list the year level. So my year level in this demonstration database is Melbourne Event 2018. In your case, it'll read year 10 or year 12 or year 7. Okay, the next piece of information is the homeroom. Okay, so in this case, 8A. It tells us when it was due. So it was due on the 5th of December 2019. And how many days overdue it is, 445 days. If that resource is not due yet, it's due in 3 days' time, the due date and the days until due will be blue, not red, and it will give us the date and a day count. So it won't be negative, it's due in 3 days. Okay, if we're wanting to send a reminder notice to this user and say, hey, this book is overdue, please make sure you bring it back, click on that envelope. System is going to create a letter and it's going to flick it off to that user for us. Okay, so it's nice and easy. If we don't have automated messages set up, overdue emails set up already, it's a nice way that we can click and send those reminders directly to the users. Okay, so once we get into a bit more of the system and you start joining some of our more advanced user training sessions on our YouTube channel, we'll start going through things like what these little symbols here mean from the alerts point of view, how we can create kits and manage assets, and all the other fancy things that we can do in the cataloging screen. Okay, but like I said earlier, we want to try and keep this session short and simple just to get your library operational. Okay, the next thing we're going to have a look at is our cataloging from SCIS. So importing resources from SCIS. We do that by clicking on Menu, Catalog, and Global Catalog. Now the reason why we call it Global Catalog is because it doesn't rely just on SCIS. You do have the ability to import information from any Z3950 compliant database. So Library of Congress, Open Libraries Australia, anyone that's got that Z link, you can plug them into the system and import the information that they have in their database, not just the SCIS system. And that's why we call it global, because we're not restricted to SCIS. Okay, now when we first look at this screen, we go, okay, there's lots of fields, what's going on? The way that we need to work this screen is by moving left to right. Okay, the information on the left of the screen here, this is when I import something from SCIS, what information do I want SmartSuite to add against each of those copies? Okay, so if I have 25 books to import, my personal recommendation is to create a couple of different piles. And the piles will be all the books that are going to the fiction area, all the books that are going to the non-fiction area, and all the books that are going to teacher reference. Okay, or it might be all the books that we bought from our supplier ABC Learning. Okay, everything that has very similar information, put that into one pile. Then what we do is we have a look at the pile and we go, all right, I don't want to sit here in the system and be adding the location, the sublocation, the loan type, the renew type into each of those 25 books. Okay, most of that information is the same for pile number 1, and that is, it's going to be located in our learning center, in the fiction area. It's going to have a loan period of 4 weeks. It's going to have a renew period of 1 week. Copy status is going to be available. The cost center is blended learning. The supplier was 21st century. And all the costs of all the various books are all different. So we don't want to default that. Okay. What's now going to happen is when I start importing the ISBNs from, in this case, SCIS, every single one of those copies is going to have the information that you see displayed on the left-hand side of the screen. Okay, so that's step number 1. Chuck in the default information for all the books that you are about to import. The next thing that you need to do is grab your barcode scanner and the pile of books, scan the ISBN of the book, followed by the barcode that is stuck onto that book. Okay, so you go ISBN barcode, put that book down, grab the next book from the pile. ISBN barcode, ISBN barcode, ISBN barcode, and you just keep going through that process. ISBN barcode. There's no need to tab between the fields. As soon as your scanner scans the first, it's going to jump to the next field and then come back to ISBN for the next book. Okay, now what I'm going to do quickly So I'm just going to grab myself an ISBN just to show you what a successfully imported book looks like. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so I scan my ISBN, scan my barcode. System has a bit of a think, and it does its thing. Okay, so here's a list of all of the books that I've now scanned from my pile. They should all be reading green and import complete. Now what that means is, number one, the system has gone out to SCIS and imported all the metadata for that book. It's inserted a copy using the barcode that we specified in that barcode field. It's also added all of this information on the left-hand side of the screen to our copy information. And in the background, it's also going to be working to get that cover image for you. Okay, so that's what green means. If it's highlighted in orange, it means that the system's still thinking about it and still trying to work through and process all that information. And if it's red, it's telling you that at some point it has failed. And it may be that the ISBN that we've given it wasn't found on the SCIS database or any of those Z databases that we've configured in the system. Or it could be something like this barcode is already being used in the system, so please specify a different one. And it's going to tell you what the error is inside that red highlight area there. For any book that has been successfully imported, the title now becomes a hyperlink. So if I go ahead and click on that, it's going to open up a new tab, take me to that catalog record so that I can then have a look at what information has come in and make those additional changes like adding the cost and all that to the book. Okay, so if I go ahead and expand that one out, I can then go and add my cost, which is $45, replacement is $50. We're going to add a little bit of margin to it. Hit save. Once we do that, okay, that's saved. We click on Close tab, and that takes us back to our screen so we can move on with the rest of our cataloging. Okay, so we've done pile number one. Pile number two is going to go to a different location. So we go over to the left-hand side and we tell the system everything now is going to go to childcare. It's going to go to the sublocation of art middle, loan period, and all the other information is the same. Put our cursor back into ISBN and go ISBN barcode, ISBN barcode. Okay, so cataloging is very, very easy within the system. Once we've done all that, we then need to go and print off our spine labels. Okay, now one thing that I did forget to go through in the beginning is setting up the default spine label for our global cataloging screen. Okay, so if you haven't already received it, there is a list of spine labels that are supported within SmartSuite-Library. Contact our customer service team after the event today and they can give you that list. Okay. If we have one of the supported labels, we need to tell the system which format we'd like to send all of these successfully imported books to the spine label printer with. So come down to the toolbar and click on the arrow next to configuration. One of the options here is default spine label. So on this screen, all you need to do is click the drop down and select the appropriate label. Okay, once you've selected the label, click Save, and then you can close that window down. Now you only need to do that once. Once you've saved the default, it's going to remain in the system for the life of your subscription with SmartSuite-Library. Okay, now that we've done our import and we've set our spine label defaults, all we need to do to send all of our successfully imported books to the printer is click the print option. That's going to open up another new tab. It's going to pull all of those barcodes that we have imported successfully into the system, whether it's 1 or 1,000 of them. It's going to load up the report and show you all the information for those spine labels. Okay, if we're happy with it, in the toolbar, click on the up arrow and go export to PDF. That's going to format it on that PDF document for you. We'll wait for it to format those barcodes. And it should give you a file, a PDF file to your download folder. Okay, make sure that you're not opening this up in your browser. So make sure that you do go to your File Explorer or your Finder on a Mac computer, and you're opening it up in a PDF viewer. Now the reason behind that is the late model browsers, they tend to do a whole bunch of formatting on top of how we've sent it for your printer. So they'll add their own margins, they'll add their own headers and footers, they'll change the font a little bit. And what that means is that when you do send it to your printer, all of your spine labels are out of alignment. Okay, so you need to print from something like Acrobat Reader, not from Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. Okay, once it's come out, you go Control P, you click on the print symbol, that's going to send it to the printer for you. Okay, stick those labels on the books and then send them off to the shelves. Okay, so that is cataloging via importing the information from SKIS and sending the spine labels to the printer. Now, once again, I'm going to give everyone a couple of moments to collate some questions for me and chuck them into the chat console on the right of your screen. Okay, no questions. So the last thing we're going to have a quick look at today is going to be how do we loan and return books from the library. Okay, we do that by heading over to our system menu, clicking on circulation and choosing circulation from the submenu. Okay, now the biggest telltale on the screen as to which mode that we're on is the color scheme of the screen. At the top you've got two toggles, loan and return, and the background of the loan tab is blue. If I toggle that to return by clicking the return symbol, it goes orange. So make sure first of all, before we do anything on this screen, that we are on the correct tab. Once we are on the correct tab, let's say that we've got a whole bunch of students lined up and we're going to borrow resources to them. Bring the blue screen up, or the loan tab, and put our cursor into that top field. From here, we need to look up the name of a person that we want to borrow resources to. Now, we can do that a number of ways. Number one, we can scan their barcode. So if they've got a library card, or a sticker on the back of their diary, or we've got a sheet of classes that we scroll through and we scan that barcode in. Next thing we could do is type in a couple of letters from their first or their surname. When we do that, system's going to go through and show us all of the relevant matches. Select the correct one. Any errors for that user is going to come up. 2 overdues, couple of reserved items, and some comments. They've lost a book in the past. If we're okay with it, click OK, and the system now loads the borrowing profile. Left-hand side of the screen there shows us the information for the user, including the available counts and how many books they do have available to borrow. And in the middle of the screen, we can see all the books that are currently on loan to them. If they are highlighted in red, it obviously means the book is overdue. Okay, we can verify that by the due date field on the right hand side, or the count, how many days it is overdue. To borrow additional resources to them, put your cursor into that top field and scan the book barcode. Okay, if there's any errors, the system is going to produce that pop-up, and as a librarian, we can override it. Okay, now what you can see is I've scanned a barcode, but it has all of this extra information on that book at the top of the screen. Now we've done this purposefully to help show you which book was the last item circulated against this user. So if I go and scan another book, okay, we're looking at the Inconvenient Truth. If I scan the next book to this user, you can see that an Inconvenient Truth has now collapsed, and Scope Trees is now the expanded one. So if we're madly going away and scanning all these books, we get distracted because we need to tell someone to stop mucking about in the library, and we go, oh, which book am I up to? Quickly look at the screen, and the one that is expanded is the last book that was successfully transacted against that user's name. Okay, when we've finished scanning the books for that user, there is no end circulation or next patron button that we need to type. All we need to do is scan in the barcode or type the name of the next user. Okay, again, any traps for that user is going to come up. Here's our next user, and we can start borrowing resources to them. Okay, nice and easy. If we're wanting to return any books back into the library, we hit return, and all we need to do on this screen is just scan the books in. We don't need to worry about bringing up users. So scan the barcode. Any errors, they're going to come up, so we can override them. Okay, and the same thing. This one has expanded, Coaching Netball. When I scan my next barcode, okay, Coaching Netball has collapsed and An Inconvenient Truth has expanded. Okay, scan the next book. Same thing happens. Okay, so all we need to do is just go scan, 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 and the system is going to do everything for us. So loaning books out and bringing them back into the system, really simple. It all to do with that field at the top of the screen there and which mode that you are wanting to circulate with. Okay, so that is loaning and returning with SmartSuite-Library. Now again, if you have joined us but you weren't able to get to us at the start of this session, all of these live events are recorded, so you do have the ability to re-watch the content. Okay, all you need to do is jump onto the YouTube channel and have a look at past events. Okay, click it, watch it, you'll be able to see any comments that have come up in the session today. We've got no questions from anyone, but you would be able to see those questions pop up, and you'll be able to see the technicians like myself answering those in the live session. The last thing I want to talk about today is how do I communicate with the customer service team members. As of last week, Functional Solutions has introduced a brand new initiative into not only the FSI community, but all library management systems and audiovisual and video library systems across Australia. And that is our new Concierge Service. Now the Concierge Service is this little icon in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Now this is available for those new users that are on SmartSuite-Library or TV for Education. And what it does is it gives you access to a customer service team member directly through this chat console. So if you have any questions, or you're stuck with how do I do this particular function that I knew how to do in my old library system, but everything's a bit new and I just can't find it in SmartSuite-Library, all you need to do is click on that chat console and post the question to our customer service team members. Hey guys, how do I mark a book as lost? Okay, now bear in mind, unlike some of the other chatbots that are out there across all the different industries that we usually deal with on a daily basis, this is a live chat with one of our customer service technicians on the other end. So we're not using any AI in this particular instance. It is all one-to-one, person-to-person. Okay, right now I've got Donald. Donald is our customer service manager, and he's going to be the reason for a lot of the initiatives that come out of the customer service team. Okay, so he's going to help us out, send us a link, send us a video, point us in the right direction. Okay, if we've got any data conversion issues, chuck them over to the concierge, and the customer service team will be able to relay that over to the conversions team for you. Okay, there you go. All right, so in that time, Donald has already handed that assistance over to us. He sent us an article. So if I open up that article, he showed us how to mark an item as lost through circulation. Okay. Oh, I better just sign off. Okay. So really, really quick and easy. Okay, once you've dealt with the particular question, close that down, and that's going to end the chat. Okay, the next time that you've got a question for them, head over back to the concierge, okay, and start typing your information in. Okay, so how do I communicate with customer service team members? Number one, concierge service. Now, once you have become familiar with the system, that concierge may disappear. Okay, it's a service that we're providing for those new users. So once that disappears, how do we go about communicating with the customer service team members? Well, over on the top left-hand side, we click on System Menu and we scroll down to Support. Within Support, we have a few various options. The top one being Contact Support. So if I go ahead and click on that, it's going to take us over to our Mailbox. And the Mailbox is where we can submit support tickets to the customer service team. So to create a new ticket, we click Create a Ticket at the top. We put in a subject. Okay, and then we've got a CC field. Now the CC field are users at your school that you would like them to receive notification of this ticket. Okay, it's just a list of options. If they are highlighted, they are going to receive notification. Okay, so don't be too alarmed that you've got 3 people that are CC'd all the time. It's only if they're highlighted are they going to see it. Okay, once you've done your CC, type your message in here and click Send. That ticket's going to go over to the customer service team and they'll be able to respond through the ticket. You'll receive a notification by email that a response has been posted. Click the link, it's going to bring you back here. You can go ahead and click on the relevant support ticket. Okay, and all the responses are going to be in there for you. If you wanted to type a reply, go ahead and type it in that box and hit post, or you can upload any screenshots, CSV files, videos that you've taken of the issue, and the customer service team members are going to look into that for you. Once all of the questions have been answered, okay, this link here is going to read closed. So make sure you do provide some assistance to the customer service team members, and if you have been satisfied with the way that they have responded and the query is no longer applicable, you close that ticket. Okay, that's just going to make sure that they're not going to be chasing you up and making sure that there's no other questions that we can answer for you. Okay, so that's communicating with the customer service team members. If I go back to support, we've also got a help system where you can go and search for all the articles that our customer service team members have been working on. Okay, so instead of using the concierge, we could have gone marking books as lost and access those same articles through here. Okay, we've got the training videos. So if I click on that, it's going to take you over to the YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed, and make sure that after you subscribe, you go ahead and you click that bell. Clicking the bell is going to make sure that you receive notification of any new YouTube videos that we have uploaded for training or any upcoming events like the new user training today. Okay, not only do we run live new user training, we also host interviews with users all over Australia. We do coffee and chat sessions where we answer people's questions that they don't necessarily have time to throw into a ticket, but they would like for us to answer through a live group session. Okay, in the space that we live in at the moment, with things that are changing constantly, having the ability to meet face-to-face isn't kind of at that level. We are going to be pushing more and more content, more and more community activities through the YouTube channel, so make sure that you are subscribed. We've got an FSI community as well. Okay, so if you are a Facebook user, make sure that you subscribe, you follow us and join the FSI community group. Now, this is where all of our SmartSuite-Library users are joining in and communicating with one another. Okay, we're running polls and we're running exclusive events through that FSI community user group. So we started a new project called the Sharing Ideas Project, where we're going to be communicating and interviewing members of the FSI community group. Last week we had an awesome Sharing Ideas interview with one of our Western Australian users, where they spoke about how they've engaged parents in their library to help promote literacy. And those events are going to be exclusive to the FSI user group. So make sure that if you are on Facebook, that you join that group there. Last and not least, we have a quick start guide. So this is where our customer service team members have got together and they've said, okay, in the first 6 months of using the system, here are all the functions that we believe librarians tend to use within SmartSuite. We've created a printable document with all of those functions. So cataloging from scarce, loaning out resources, overriding due dates, advanced search functions and external links, the classrooms module, all of that is in this document. So you can view this online if you're someone who likes to view information online. There's a couple of videos that you can watch with each of those different articles. Okay, and you can also print that off. So if you're someone that likes a physical copy and you like to make notes on it, make sure you do go ahead and print that off and store that next to your cataloging or circulation desk. Okay, so once again, all of that can be accessed by a system menu, scrolling down and clicking support, and there's all your support options. Okay. So thank you so much for your time today. We've gone through the new user training for SmartSuite-Library. Things that I need to do to get started, SKIS and setting up your spine label defaults. We've had a look at managing your patrons, adding catalog records and deleting them. We've had a look at circulating resources and how to communicate with our customer service team members. Okay, no one's chucked any questions for me into the chat box, so there's nothing else that we're going to cover today. I really appreciate your time joining the session, and as I keep saying, I'm just going to keep echoing it, make sure that number one, you join the YouTube channel. All of the upskilling information is going to be found there. Okay, number two, no question is a silly question. Our customer service team members are absolutely awesome individuals, and they're really excited to be able to help users get the best out of their subscription with us. So make sure that if you can't find something that you're after, you post the question to them and we'll be there to answer you. Thank you so much for attending today. We're looking forward to seeing you in one of our next upcoming YouTube live sessions. See you later.